everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday webinar with our partners from Otis, which focuses on how to use elevator data to make your jobs as FMs easier. While we wait for everyone to join us in the live stream, please drop us a line to tell us where you're from and say hello. We have a spectacular presentation and discussion lined up for today, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Before we do, I want to take a moment to go over the format. We'll have the entire session followed by a Q&A, questions and answers. Be sure to drop your questions in the chat box, and our panelists will get to as many as we can during the hour. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Federico Garcia Parra, Head of Global Strategic Accounts and Customer Advisory Board Chair with Otis. A little background about Federico. He is based in London, and he's responsible for fostering relations with the company's key global customers and Fortune 500 strategic partners. He also leads Otis's Customer Advisory Board to engage key stakeholders and support corporate goals. Federico brings a lot of experience to our webinar and the industry, as he has been helping FMs and major corporations design safe and healthy re-entry strategies into their workplaces practically since the beginning of the pandemic. And with Federico today is Wally Namain, Senior Manager of Digital Technology, IoT, and Digital Transformation for Otis. Based in Farmington, Connecticut, Wally has over 10 years of experience in digital technology and information systems and is leading the digital transformation at Otis for cloud technologies, API development, and IoT initiatives. With the wealth of experience between these two, I'm sure they'll be more than capable of helping you understand how to leverage your data. With that, I'll turn it over to Federico.
For hosting and organizing this event today. Before I start, I would like to take the opportunity to wish everybody a happy World FM Day. To all facility managers across the world, a big thank you for all that you do to keep us healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. So again, thank you. What you see here are industry data trends that we are seeing. And I'm sure these are trends that you are also seeing in your markets and geographical locations as well. In all cases, we have seen this increase in demand for elevator data. So the first one is around connected elevators. Elevators are being connected to the cloud, and customers are looking for help to help visualize this data in real time and in the way they want to visualize it. Also, touchless operations. COVID-19 started over a year ago now, and many companies are now looking to offer smart building apps to help reopen their buildings safely and also provide this touchless experience. These smart building apps provide lots of different capabilities, and we're getting increased requests to integrate elevator apps into these specific building applications. Cloud building systems. An increased number of building system suppliers are moving their applications to the cloud as well. And this trend we expect to continue to accelerate, and we need to be able to interface with them. A lot of BMS systems, we've seen that they're migrating to the cloud, and companies really do need support on this. So in our case, we have developed some APIs to meet this need, and Wally is going to be talking about them very shortly. But let's look at the other service robot automation. This is two levels, and it's about providing safe solutions, which are touch-free, but also improving productivity. And when we're talking about improving productivity, we are referring especially in hospitals, in hotels, and in offices. So again, this is an area which we expect significantly to expand over the next few years. And obviously, for a robot to work effectively, it needs to be able to move from floor to floor. And this is where the elevator integration comes in. So these are the kind of 4 industry data trends that we are seeing. In terms of applications, here are some examples of different elevator data applications really focusing around improving the tenant experience and increasing productivity. So, at the time when elevators are not being used by tenants, so by integrating some of our IoT APIs into the building management system, they will be able to show when elevators are being used the most at different points of time, but then the day, and then also the different days of the week. From a facility manager's perspective, what this does is that it allows to schedule deliveries when the elevators are not being used, and therefore, as you know, this will improve the tenant experience, because tenants don't want the elevators to shut down when they want to use them at high peak levels, right? Similar thing for organizing when tenants move. Organizing tenants' moves within the building based on elevator demand. So other examples here are the ability to unlock value for retail tenants. So the building owner, the property manager, what they could do is could share information regarding peak times and different real-time activities of the elevators being used within the buildings. And then what they do, they can share the data with their retail tenants who may be, on the ground floor. And then they can help them increase demand for their products. We strongly believe that this area will get even more interesting over time, as there are other inputs, and we're seeing this coming into this, and inputs that are based on weather, or inputs that are based on traffic, for example, or based on subway integration. We think that this kind of level of data will expand. But right now, based on how elevators are being used and what time of the day, we can detect how that information can be used for a retail tenant. And from a closed loop perspective, thinking in a closed loop way, then these retail tenants can make a promotion in the elevator cars through in-car screens, for example. And at Otis, we have a solution that is called eView. But another elevator data application is integrating elevator calling into apps and robots for a better tenant experience. Another one would be anticipating HVAC needs based on tenant movement. Again, these APIs, because they are in real time and because they can be visualized in different ways, right? Because you're not stuck in a computer system or in a security office, you can make this information available maybe to the HVAC supplier and help reduce costs associated to providing that heating or that ventilation. Then similarly with respect to the security personnel. So these are the different kind of ideas here around a different elevator and data apps. So with this, I turn it over to Wally, and Wally is going to further explain the different type of APIs, their applications, functionalities, but also a couple of real studies that we would love to share with you. So Wally, please.
Thank you, Federico. Very excited to be here. As mentioned earlier, my name is Wally Nemain, and I lead the digital transformation for IoT and APIs here at World Headquarters at Otis Elevator. Today, we're going to be talking about data, APIs, and how they can improve your business to make sound business decisions, to improve your tenant experience, as well as improve the productivity. As described by Federico, we're noticing all of these data trends. And Otis's response to this is by making a major investment in launching the Otis Developer Portal, which is an ecosystem where all of our APIs will be housed. And that is going to be the channel and the mechanism in which we communicate with our partners and our technology delivery partners. As part of this journey, we've prepackaged APIs based on customer needs and customer use cases, and they fall into three major categories, which we'll go into in a few moments. Those three categories fall under service data, real-time operations data, which is driven by IoT, and finally, our elevator calling capabilities. Then we'll dive into 2 case studies from real customers. And after that, we'll transition to some Q&A to answer any questions that you may have on how you can leverage these capabilities. So the Otis Developer Portal is an ecosystem, and we're really changing our mindset on how the elevator plays a role in the overall operations of the building. What that means is our ecosystem of services and data needs to be able to interact with other technologies outside of the Otis world. And they need to be able to interact with technologies inside of your applications, in your workflows, and in your world. And this application or this platform is available to your technical community so they can access things like documentation and understand how to access and leverage the use cases that we've defined. On the developer portal, you will find API documentation and reference documentation. All of our APIs follow the Open API spec, which defines best practices and industry-leading practices on how to define APIs and how to actually integrate them. APIs at a very fundamental and basic high level allow pieces of software to communicate with each other. And it does it on a common language. And what this documentation does is provides your technical team with an understanding of how to integrate the software into your environment. By providing this documentation, we also provide the ability to export the documentation locally, as well as provide different snippets of programming languages that vary across multiple technologies. For example, your development team may be programming a mobile application. At the same time, they also may be programming a web application. In the developer portal, we'll provide sample code in both programming languages. This is a value add to you because it will actually speed increase your time to market as your technical team now understands the design better, and they can expect what to integrate their solution with. We really wanted to focus on providing an unparalleled, unique developer experience around the user so that they can focus on integrating the solution and focusing on the use cases so you can focus on driving value against the use cases. When we spoke with customers, we wanted to make sure we took a user-centric approach to development of our APIs. We spoke with many customers across many geographies, varying of different business sizes, across different industries. And there was one common theme that really came up. Running the building is extremely complex and extremely stressful. And there's many different components, not just the elevator, and we truly understand that. And in order for us to be successful together, Otis needs to be able to play with the entire ecosystem. As a building manager, you're worried about running the building and all the different capital components within the building. For example, on the screen here, we have a mock-up of a building management system where we've integrated the HVAC system, understanding of energy consumption and water usage. You also may have to integrate your security systems. And the elevator is part of that ecosystem. So in this example, we have our elevator availability insights API integrated into this ecosystem. So you have one single pane of glass to view all of your data components. What does that mean for you? One less login, one less application you have to manage. And on top of that, we provide you with the flexibility and the freedom to visualize this data however you see fit based on your business needs. As part of this journey in our discussions with many customers in providing feedback, the APIs and the use cases fall into three major categories. The first is surface data. This is really giving background information on all of the repairs and maintenance and work that has been performed from a historical view of your unit or units within your fleet. The second is around real-time operations data. This is driven by our IoT platform called Otis One, and this provides you with near real-time communication on what's happening with the health of your elevator systems. And this is really critical for being able to make real-time business decisions and manage your building accordingly. And three, the ability to call the elevator. As we've seen from the pandemic, the ability to connect to third-party applications to provide a touch-free experience has been more important than ever. And we'll talk about the different capabilities that elevator calling can provide to improve your tenant experience. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into more detail, first starting with our service API products. We currently have 4 API products that are available today on the developer portal: elevator availability insights, elevator maintenance, elevator repair, and our callback or service information. All of these service APIs provide a holistic view of all the work that's performed on your fleet of Otis elevators, as well as non-Otis elevators. And we provide a historical view of a rolling 12-month data. Now, let's talk about how we can actually leverage this information to be more productive. When we talked with customers, we learned that a lot of customers were actually exporting this information manually from various portals and building custom reports for various audiences. We learned that they were wasting a ton of time building these data sets for various audiences within their organization across multiple buildings, multiple campuses. Let's take an example of the elevator repair insights. We learned that as part of building the reports, all of these reports were managed offline through a combination of spreadsheets and spreadsheets that had macros enabled. Now, this could be detrimental to the organization should the spreadsheet become corrupt and the person would have to rebuild this report. Another challenge that it presents is the time consumed with generating the format for different audiences. And lastly, the quality of the data. Once the report is sent out, how do we know if this information is still up to date and is still accurate? And finally, if the person that is responsible for this report decides to leave the organization, then who will then manage or transition the maintenance of this reporting? By providing the elevator repair API, you'll have a consistent way of consuming this repair information that's reliable, secure, and meets your performance needs and standards. Additionally, let's revisit the different audiences that need to see this information. For example, you may have your executive management staff that wants to understand all of the repair information that's happening across all of their buildings. And the format that they want it is in the form of an email. And on the cadence that they want it as a monthly report. In the same token, you have your maintenance staff across all of your buildings that would like the same information, but they would like the repair information as it's actually happening or as the units are actually being repaired. They would like that in the format of a push notification to their mobile app. Through the power of the APIs, you can achieve both use cases and you can drive productivity. So now as a facility manager, you can really focus on the important jobs to be done in higher value tasks. You no longer have to manage all of these spreadsheets. If you think about having to manage multiple buildings, this can really become time consuming. So an example of the repair API, we've been able to deliver the same information consistently at different time increments to 2 different audiences with a different level of detail. And that's really the value of the service products. Next, let's look at our real-time operations information, or our IoT information. And this is really driven by real-time notifications and use cases that require immediate action. The three products that we have is our elevator status information, which provides the health of the elevator in near real time. Is the unit healthy? Is there an open service request? Are we noticing a degradation in service? The second is our elevator performance insights. I'm very excited about this API, as Federico had mentioned earlier, about being able to see traffic data within the building and how we can leverage that to make better business decisions and actually work with our ecosystem of partners like our tenants. As part of the performance API, you'll be able to consume how many elevator rides have been called in a particular day, in a particular month, or whatever time frame you've defined, as well as the number of door cycles. And finally, one of our most powerful APIs, the elevator alarm information, which will give you real-time information on a degradation of service and if the unit is not available to the riding public. And you can make business decisions based on these inputs, however you see fit. Let's take an example of the elevator alarm information. And in this case, we have two buildings. And in building one, there are two units that drive the building. And in scenario two, there are, let's say, 15 units that drive the building. The sensitivity to one of those units becoming inoperable is extremely high in the first scenario. And you may want to change your business operations because the impact that it has to your business based on this. In scenario two, while it's still important to be informed that one of the units is not operable, it may not require immediate attention. So how can we take this use case and hand it to the technical team to create a solution that fits both? In the first scenario where there's high sensitivity, we can create a solution that sends an SMS text notification to the front desk. We can also create a voice-activated call or recording to the security desk so they become aware. And then a notification immediately goes out to your tenants in the building-wide app that posts a notification that says, there's an investigation that's happening on one of the units. Please use this other elevator at this time. Please excuse the inconvenience. In the other scenario where there were multiple units, the degradation in service may not impact the building. And you may not want your front staff, your building staff, to immediately respond to this because they have other higher priority items to address. Instead, you've chosen to send an email out to the entire building staff. So now they're aware and they're informed of what's happening in the building, but there's no immediate action required at this time. And this is really the flexibility and the power of the APIs and the IoT APIs is really to define how you would like to integrate these services into your workflows. And you really can drive your business decisions based on building by building or campus by campus. You may treat your world headquarter building very differently from a satellite location. And finally, the elevator performance that we talked about earlier. So by providing the information of how much demand is placed on the elevator, you can now see the traffic that you have in your building and increase the productivity or increase the way that you operate your building. Now that you understand the peak times and off-peak times, you can now use this information to perhaps change the way that leases are exchanged and how tenants move in and out of the building. Also, your performance will not stay static. As you have new tenants enter the building, let's think about a mixed tenant scenario where there's retail tenants. The moving in and out of a large tenant will change the demographic of your building and will also modify the peak and off-peak times. And you can use this information to dynamically change the way you run your building. As mentioned earlier, we can also take this a step further. And as I mentioned earlier about working within an ecosystem, we're now thinking much larger than just the elevator, but we're talking about the entire ecosystem of the building and the ecosystem of the campus, even the ecosystem of the city in some cases. Can you provide this information around peak times to your retail tenants, for example? And now they can provide that information to their internal marketing team to then better drive revenue and conversions. There's also a possibility of even monetizing this data with your tenants and sharing this information and possibly doing a rev share model. So the possibilities are really endless, and it's really up to you to work with your business team on what are the business outcomes that you'd like to achieve and how you can work with your IT and software engineering team to develop the solution together. And finally, our third category is our APIs for elevator calling. We're actually going to go through a case study about a customer in Singapore that's leveraging the eCall API in their building-wide app. The eCall API provides real-time location information on which way the elevator is traveling, as well as the ability to place a demand for the elevator. The second product is one of our latest initiatives, the Otis Integrated Dispatch for Service Robots. This is a really interesting product. We're seeing a lot of demand from the hospitality segment for a solution like this. And what this API allows you to do is it allows a robot to traverse the elevator. And some of the use cases that came up have been to use robots to deliver service requests as well as room service, especially during off-peak hours where there may be reduced staff. Now that you've reduced your overhead costs by reducing your staff, for the staff that you do have on site, you can better leverage them for higher value items or items that are more prioritized, like working the concierge desk, answering calls to make reservations to book additional revenue, and just overall maintenance of the front lobby. So these are ways on how we're seeing APIs being leveraged within the elevator calling space. And I expect to see much more use cases come up. So I'm very excited to see what new partners build. Let's jump into a few case studies. The first is around service APIs. We had a customer approach us with the objective of moving to a new business model. And the model that they wanted to evaluate was moving from a rented square meter approach or rented square footage approach to charging their customers to a usage-based approach. And they specifically wanted to evaluate, could they charge or pass on the cost of the elevator service usage based on a percentage of the customer's usage of the elevator component. What we did was we provided them with 3 APIs: the elevator availability API, maintenance insights, and our IoT API that provided the traffic data. They were then able to dissect the information and understand which tenants were using the elevator at what percentage. And as a result, they were successfully able to pass on this cost respective of the usage. This was a huge win for the customer because they were able to explore a new business model. And as this proof of concept, they're now trying to leverage it in other facilities and other locations within their geographic region. Next case study is about one of our customers, CDL, that owns their marquee building, Republic Plaza, in downtown Singapore. They had this initiative to launch a building-wide app to attract new tenants and to provide an unparalleled tenant experience. The name of their mobile app is called City Nexus, and there's multiple things that the tenant can do within the application. The first is around being able to book conference rooms directly through the mobile app, being able to control the lighting, as well as being able to control the HVAC system preferences. They approached us and wanted to use our eCall API, which allows you to call the elevator seamlessly. And as a result, they were able to successfully integrate the solution into their mobile app. So now customers can remotely call the elevator without actually having to press the hall call button. As the building returns to normal operation after the pandemic, this is going to be a continued value add for customers that may have anxiety of touching common spaces. So we think it's going to be a very big impact to their customers and improve tenant experience. Hopefully you guys have been able to get some value and understanding about some of the use cases and how you can leverage APIs within your ecosystem and how Otis can partner with your ecosystem and fit within your solution. As mentioned earlier, the developer portal is a self-service portal with a bunch of rich documentation and the ability to try the APIs in real time to get real-time feedback from your development team and to speed up your development process. In addition, we have our technical support team that's on site and on standby that will be able to answer any additional questions that you may have. At this time, we're going to transition to some Q&A, and we're excited to answer some questions about what you guys have around APIs and how you can leverage them.
So, thank you, Wally. Super exciting and to see the entire world of opportunities that the APIs are opening right now, right? For all the facility management community and family. I have a first question coming from Grayson. And Grayson asks, are these local or cloud-based APIs?
Great question. All of these APIs are cloud-based. We have a cloud-native platform, and we're really focused on providing the highest level of resiliency for our services.
Excellent. So there's another question here. The question is this solution exclusive to Otis equipment, or will it work on other OEM equipment? I think I can take this one.
Sure.
And our solution at Otis, which is Otis One, but also the APIs that Wally has been talking about, is equipment agnostic, right? So this means that our technology is compatible with both Otis as well as with non-Otis equipment, and to provide a consistent but also a holistic experience for final users or the end users. Of course, with a broader range of data and analytics accuracy on the Otis equipment, if I may say. I don't know if Wally, you want to add something to this question.
Yeah, you're exactly spot on. We wanted to ensure that the solution can work not only in your building, but across multiple buildings, across multiple campuses to provide a holistic experience.
Okay, great. There's another question here. What technical documentation is available, Wally?
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, every API has extensive documentation on how to integrate the solution. So we have what we call a Swagger spec, so the technical team can understand all the variables that are required to be passed to get a response from the data, as well as the ability to export it, as mentioned earlier, to have the documentation local.
Okay, great. Another question here. Can these APIs work with BMS, with building management systems?
Absolutely. So the way that our APIs are designed is a way to be able to work with as many systems as possible. We come up with a common framework on how to consume our services. Our APIs follow a RESTful API protocol. So you'll be able to call those APIs if your BMS allows for integration. The only consideration is that the BMS integration will be done by your technical team or a partner or a systems integrator to consume that information. You then have the ability to choose at what frequency you would like that data updated in your system, whether it's a BMS or maybe it's a homegrown application.
Okay, very good, very clear. I see here a follow-up question coming from Grayson again. So Grayson says, so only eCall and Robot are subscription-based? How are the other APIs charged for?
Great question. So the other APIs also follow a subscription model. At this time, it's a flat fee per unit per year. So you can talk to your local sales rep on specific pricing on how you would like to consume those API services. It is a simplified model, which actually provides an added benefit. So in the example of the repair information that I described earlier, it's one API, but in the example, we're leveraging it for two applications or two systems. One emailing the summary to the executive team, and the other sending that information as a notification to the mobile app. There's no additional charge, and you can come up with as many use cases as you'd like, but you're going to pay a flat fee for access to that API product.
Okay, thank you. I see another interesting question coming in. Here is can we modify these APIs regarding some specific demand or request coming from a customer, or instead are they fixed and global APIs? So I can take this one, Wally.
Sure.
Well, I think this is a great question, and I would say the simple answer is yes. But that requires first to understand the requirements of the customer, and of course some development that will need to take place and needs to be planned with together with our product teams. But yes, we can do so.
Yeah, these are some great questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah, let me see another one that I have here. Can we use the same API for multiple applications? That's another question.
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned earlier, the repair information, even our IoT APIs, right? Being able to use the same API across multiple use cases is where you're going to get the value add. And if you really think about it, because there's no incremental cost to consuming this service, there's really a huge amount of value for your organization for consuming them and re-leveraging them. So your cost per transaction really starts to decrease as you increase your use cases. What I'm really excited to see is our partners and our customers start to leverage multiple APIs together to drive new insights. And not just APIs that are coming from Otis, but how can they leverage services from their own internal data and combine that information with Otis data that is owned by the customers and generate new business insights.
Great. I have here another interesting question, and I think both of us can provide different angles into the answer, Wally. The question is, how has the pandemic affected the role of digital transformation, and what role do APIs play in this transformation?
Excellent question. Last year, 2020, obviously was an extremely challenging year for the entire world. There's no doubt about it. What we saw was pretty incredible from a digital transformation standpoint. So in a study that was done by Google in 2020 around digital transformation, they surveyed about 1,500 IT professionals around their progress. 75% of respondents said that they continued their digital transformation initiatives. Out of that 75%, 65% of that population actually accelerated the transformation because of the need to move to digital services and because the impact of having siloed businesses or digital services within an organization. Not only that, but we saw the need, as I mentioned earlier, for multiple ecosystems to communicate with each other. And we see that outside of just our own internal businesses. For example, we saw how retail got hit really hard. We saw how the restaurant and food business got hit really hard. And in order for them to survive, they really needed to become a digital business, and they needed to work with partners. One example that comes to mind is if you think about food delivery services, one of the popular delivery services in North America, like Uber Eats, Grubhub, and some of the other services that deliver food, they became critical infrastructure partners for food businesses that had no delivery business before, but they had to transition to that. So the leveraging of APIs between multiple systems is really critical.
And yeah, super interesting. And from my perspective, since we started working with the major corporations and customers around the world and trying to design their re-entry strategies right into the workplace in a safe and healthy way, we saw that a lot of the in strategies were not only speeding up the development and implementation of some technologies that were there, but also those technologies are here to stay, right? It's accelerated the change of the way we work and the way we interact. So and we understood, or we identified 5 main categories here when we were working with our customers. 5 technological categories. One would be, passenger communications. Second one would be how to use the technology to promote social distancing. Then, of course, purifying products. That is less linked to the subject of today. But then we did find another category, which is touchless solutions. And finally, the remote monitoring and intervention services. And with the passenger communications, we saw how the in-car screens could help support and passenger reassurance with instant live video communication, and use that those screens to communicate the strategy of the facility manager, of the building owners, to explain and to communicate what actions had been taken in place in order to keep the users and the tenants safe, or the Otis, the position indicators, to make sure that everybody was very well aware where they were and where they were going, or some customized dispatching system displays, right, to help facility managers display building updates, promote social distancing and other security information, right? Or for promoting social distance, we saw how the destination dispatching systems, right, could help our customers limit the number of passengers assigned to each elevator to help them with this, or use some applications like our eCall, right, on people's mobile devices to place elevator calls, or set operations, predefined flows, automatic operations. And these are solutions that could be first retrofitted and could be used in sophisticated and less sophisticated systems. And again, these are solutions to stay. And also what we saw is that is really being accepted and is being accelerated. In addition to that, those applications, touchless applications to place elevator calls, also, applications such as voice activating, applications, or hand gesturing, again, to generate those touchless experiences. And finally, how could we use our technologies to do the remote monitoring and intervention services? With these APIs that you're taking, you're also going to be enabled to do that, right? And for that, we have, in addition to the remote expert monitoring, we have some other solutions that would allow the remote intervention in elevators, right? Reducing also or helping to social distance, and reducing also the elevator callbacks, and increasing the availability. These are just some examples, right, that we've seen that, yes, we were using existing technology that was there. We've taken the opportunity to enhance on that technology, and what we're seeing is our customers around the world really want to implement this technology moving forward, and it's here to stay.
Yeah, that's incredible. There's a lot of work, especially with the work that you're doing, boots on the ground, and we're all working together, and we're all working to make the environment a safer place and get back to the new normal. So, yeah, that's great.
Excellent. So another question that I see here, Wally, is how can you measure the benefits of these APIs?
Great question. So, measuring the business benefits really starts on what your goals are as an organization. And typically, my recommendation is start right to left, meaning what is the end result that we want to drive? Is it around generating additional revenue? Is it around improving the tenant experience? Is it around making the facility manager's life easier? And how can we do that? Is it around saving time? How can we find ways to quantify this? And then, you'll work with your technology team to understand what is available to you in terms of data. So that's where the developer portal comes into play. You'll access the developer portal. You'll be able to kind of choose in terms of like a catalog, hey, these are the capabilities that are available, and here's the data that we'll be able to retrieve. You then will map those data points to your end result in your use cases, and then you'll have to come up with what are the KPIs or key performance indicators that will help drive and understand the conversion of those metrics. Additionally, there's also technical metrics that you may want to leverage that you can use to drive your understanding of the benefits. For example, as part of the developer portal, all of our APIs have analytics attached to them on the back end. So your development team actually will be able to see how many calls an API has been made, how many successful calls, how many rejected calls, for example, for troubleshooting purposes. And also, where are the calls coming from? So let's take the example of an enterprise-wide mobile app that's been rolled out globally to all facility and building managers. And this organization has facilities in North America, in Europe, in Asia. As part of the API analytics, you'll be able to see which geographic region has the most consumption of this API. Let's say it's the Availability Insights API from our service product portfolio. And we're seeing that in North America, there's a ton of usage for this API. But in Europe and Asia, we're not seeing as much adoption. So now you can use this information and take it with your champions within your regions and help troubleshoot and understand what's going on. Is it a technology issue? Is it an awareness issue? Maybe they're not aware that this capability is available in the mobile app that you've rolled out. So these are the different types of metrics that you can use to drive your business benefits. You can also export this information, provide it to your product teams and your marketing teams to understand how to better utilize the service.
Excellent. Thanks for this. I have another question coming from the audience. Paul asks, can you share which of these APIs you see are in highest demand or are being adopted the soonest?
Great question. Hands down, the IoT APIs. The ability to make decisions in near real time is extremely valuable. It allows you to move from this very reactionary state to being proactive in some cases. Let's take a look at the elevator health API, for example. Every few minutes, you're getting sensor information delivered directly to you that will tell you the current health of the elevator. And the elevator can go through different states from healthy, maybe we're seeing a degradation in service. As one of your use cases, you may work with your technology team to say, hey, if the elevator starts to move in this state, I want to put it on a watch list. That watch list will now go to my building operations team or my security team, for example. And now there's no immediate need that needs to happen or immediate action, but I'm better informed now and I can make better decisions. I'm not going to run into a scenario now where my tenant has to tell me that my unit is no longer working or there's some issue. Now I'm being proactive. And really the peace of mind that provides is really valuable. And I think IoT in general, we're going to continue to see more adoption. As of recently, just to add to that, the eCall and the robotics APIs, I think we're going to see a ton of increased demand. We are already seeing an overwhelming amount of support and demand for touchless experiences. And moving forward, that may become the new norm where everyone has their mobile app and they can traverse the elevator without having to touch a button.
Great. So I have another question here, and I can take this one. Can you describe the performance of these services? So I can say here, all of our APIs are designed with high performance but also with redundancy in mind, right? And we have architected our solutions to support multiple connections across all the connected elevators. And I mean, this always with the aim of bearing in mind performance, right? The best performance. So I think, if you want to add something else, Wally, to this question, but.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. Performance.
Any comments?
Absolutely. So performance is one of the major indicators of success for us. If the solution is not performing to the highest of its ability, then we failed to provide you with the best level of service. So performance is always key of mine, and especially around our IoT APIs, being able to deliver solutions immediately as they happen.
Okay. Another question here. It goes, will there be other APIs created from your point of view, from your perspective?
Great question. Absolutely. So because our APIs are cloud native, we expect and we will continue to iterate and improve the existing catalog of APIs, as well as introduce new capabilities. And we're learning together with our partners and our customers on new use cases that are coming up and how we can address them. And we're thinking really big picture here. We're not being confined to just the elevator, but we're really thinking about the elevator as serving as a central hub for this entire ecosystem. So we're going to continue to iterate. One of the great things about our organization is we follow the agile methodology. So we're going to continue to release software in short amount of sprints in time. So you can expect new capabilities to be released within the developer portal. As a user of the developer portal, you will receive emails on a regular basis when there's new products that are available.
Okay. So another question here is, how does a customer know which API they will need? I mean, this starts with through a conversation with with your partners, with your business partners, and define clearly, I guess, what are the objectives, what are the real business objectives that you want to achieve. Then what we recommend is to define the use case first. This is a critical part in order to be able to deliver that business value that you're looking for, right, or your customers are looking for, and then being able to track it against some metrics, right, and performance. So again, start with the use case and the data that is required, and then it will present itself. From our perspective, our APIs are packaged in a way that they will define some example use cases in order to help you get started quickly, right, in the fastest way possible. Another question that I see here is, can these APIs work with building management systems? I don't know if we covered this one earlier, Wally.
I think we did, yeah. Yeah, if you didn't catch it, yes, it can work with building management systems and the integration. Yeah.
And I think, just to conclude, I think a final question I think would be interesting is, do you see APIs used in other industries? Wally? Hello, can you hear us, Wally? I can answer this one if I think we lost Wally, some connection issues.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we are likely to interact, or you're likely to interact with APIs almost on a daily basis, right? Both in and out of work. So just think about, have you ever signed up for a site using a single sign or an email account? Or that is actually, when you're doing that, you're actually calling an API, or when you authorize your bank to purchase something online. Here also an API call is being made to your bank to approve the purchase. Oh, let's have a look. When you look at Expedia, I know many of you will know, you're familiar with it, the online travel booking site. So 90% of Expedia's revenue is generating for modernizing APIs to third parties to allow booking for hotels, but also to rent cars and also flights. Another example is automotive manufacturers. They also leverage APIs for connected cars to provide Apple, Siri, or Amazon Alexa voice integration, and also other digital services. I think we will continue to see other industries, and especially manufacturing, adopt APIs. And as described earlier by Wally in the France case study, this customer was able to change the business model based on new information for elevator usage by their tenants. So the API economy is about combining information from various sources to help deliver new business insights. So at the end of the day, what you do with this insights is your final decision. It's up to you. But you could drive revenue or increase efficiency, productivity, or improve an experience. So I think this ends up with the questions that we've received. Kim or the team or Ashley.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Federico and Wally. And of course, thanks to all of you who tuned in today for your questions and discussion. This has given us insight into the world of elevators. With these digital transformations and advances in technology, FMs can use their elevators for more than just moving people from point A to point B in their facilities. For more great content like you saw today, or to catch our previous webinars with Otis, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with the latest from IFMA. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.